Hi everyone, I have been asked to demonstrate how to colour balls of yarn for this knitting, sewing craft room in Rooms of Wonder by Johanna Basford. I decided that I would do this page and a few of the items on here. They're a bit bigger than the ones on here, so I think it's a little bit easier to show you. And I haven't quite decided what I'm doing with this one, so I thought we would start with this one. Now the lady who asked me has Polychromos pencils, so I thought that is what I would use. Now what I'm going to do is we have obviously a repeating design here with our buttons, scissors, cotton embroidery thread, more buttons, another embroidery thread and yarn and another button. So I thought what I would do is just show you a few of the items, and then if you wish to you could colour them the same as me and then do the same for the rest. That's what I'm going to do. Doesn't mean you have to, but let's start and see how we get on. So I'm actually going to start with the wool, the yarn. We call it wool a lot here in the UK, even though it isn't always made of wool. Now I think every ball I'm going to do the same, so I can just show you one. And actually let's come in closer so you can really see. Gosh, that is close, isn't it? Here we go. Okay. So we have two aspects that we're working with on our ball of yarn. We have the spherical shape, which we want to try and emphasize, but we also have the fact that this bit here is going to be sticking out more than this bit here, which is going to be sticking out more than those bits. So we have quite a few elements to think about. There are simple ways of doing it and trickier ways of doing it, and it is really up to you. I'm going to grab my colour. I'm just going to use the middle purple pink just because I think it's quite pretty. Now you can choose to do a multicoloured yarn. Now some of them you will go from pink to purple or whatever colours you might choose. I'm going to do a layer of this colour evenly all over this ball of wool. Don't press too hard yet, just keep it quite gentle. Just going to put a whole layer over. So as I say, I think it's easier to use just one colour to start with, just to keep it simple. So there's our initial layer. Okay, you could leave it like that, but let's build up. Now let's emphasize our spherical shape first. So we go a little darker around the edge. So effectively I'm just putting a darker line all the way around the edge to start with. It doesn't look very pretty, but bear with me. What we now want to do is to bring that colour in. Gently scumble the edge, use this round and round movement to layer up a little bit and then taper it off so that you have less layers as you get towards the centre. And do that all the way around, and hopefully you'll end up with something. We're just going to put a little bit here that looks a little more spherical. I think it looks a little more spherical than that one. You may or may not agree. Now you can do that with using a darker colour, but I think it's simpler to definitely start with to just use the same pencil. Now what I'm going to try and establish is which bits of yarn are closest to us. So this looks to me like the top layer, and it looks like that's the next layer, then this one, then this one. So this bit, this bit, this bit and this bit I think are all further back, and they'll be a little bit darker. So we can do a little bit of shadow along the edge of that section. Again, I'm sticking with the same colour. So I'm going to make that bit a bit darker, and this bit in here, and that bit could be part of that one. I'm going to leave that for now, and this bit in here. Okay. And then I'm thinking this bit too. Just in there. Right, now we're getting the pieces that are slightly closer to us, can be a little bit lighter. What I'm going to do is makes that darker on the edge and in the middle. The same with this one here, or else we're going to lose our spherical shape, but still making it a bit darker than this one. Put an actual shadow line in there. Okay, now we've got this piece, so again darker here, light towards the middle, but pop a line in there just to look like shadow. Now we have our almost last bit. Again, I'm being a bit more gentle here, but still trying to just emphasize that it's darker on the edge, but put a little line in there just to show a shadow. And lastly, this one, don't need to do much, I'm just tidying it up a little bit. And there we have our ball of yarn. So it wasn't too tricky. You can make it easier than that or trickier, it's up to you. Now, as I say, I'm going to do every ball of yarn in this. I've just noticed that needs to a dark line in there and there, which isn't quite there. To make it, you can use a different colour rather than just the one, but I find it just simple like that. It's a pretty colour, isn't it? So I'm going to do all my balls of yarn around the outside of this picture in exactly that way. Even though we've got two beside each other here, that's how I'm going to do it. I'm going to keep it really simple, so I don't need to show you anymore. They're all going to be the same. So if you wish, pause your video now and colour them all, or continue to watch and decide whether that's the right colour for you and based on the other things that I'm going to do. So we have this reel now. Now I think it looks like a reel of cotton, but it looks a bit different to these reels of cotton. So what should we do? I think I want a sort of brownish colour for the for each end. My cotton that I have has a bright neon yellow reel, but I think I prefer something like this raw umber. Now I want it to look rounded because it isn't flat, but we don't want to leave any white in the centre, so I'm going to just try and fade a little bit like that, make it darker, so putting those layers down at the edge, just so it looks slightly rounded but without a shine, because it's card, it's not metal, so although it will reflect some light, it won't be really mega shiny. We can add some shine when we do our scissors and our pins, so these will look different. Pins. I used to have a neighbour called Pins. She, it wasn't her real name. She used to lose her knitting needles down the chair, apparently. I didn't remember her ever knitting, to be honest. And so she got that nickname. So I think we're going to use a pretty cobalt turquoise for this thread. And we're going to do a very similar technique to this. So pop a layer down, nice and gently. I'm holding my pencil quite far down. It's on its side, so it's not burnishing down onto the paper. We're just getting a light layer. Now, unlike this one, it's not spherical. It's going to be, this bit's closer to us. It goes round that way. So I want it to be darker on this edge, like that. And on this edge. And I'm gently putting less layers as I get towards the middle, bringing it in from both sides. Again, we don't want a shine line as such, although some threads and cottons can be quite shiny if they're silky, but we just want to emphasize that shape. Put a little bit more here. I think it's lacking. There we go. And again, like we did with this ball of yarn, we want to think about which layers are in front. This is our very top layer. This looks like it's all one layer, but this isn't, so I'm not sure. We definitely want a line in there and here, just to show that that bit is behind. It does look to me like that's all one section, so I'm going to put a dark line all the way down there for shadow, then just do this a little bit darker, just because I want this to be the lightest. I don't have to do it too dark, but I can just build that colour up a little bit. That's it. And then this one, again, it's going to be a little bit darker than that one. So I can just build the colour up from the side here. And this side too, leaving a light bit in the middle. There we go. So there is that one. It's quite simple, isn't it? Right, let's move up. And we'll do the buttons in a minute. Let's do all the thready things, and then we'll do all the buttons and all the scissors and things. Well, not all the scissors, one pair of scissors. So here we have, this looks to me like embroidery, an embroidery skein. Skein? I never know how you pronounce it. Anyway, let's do this in a sort of purpley colour. What should we go? Oh, should we do my favourite? The manganese violet. Now these pieces of paper, they used to drive me batty. They would always slide off and they'd be gold and black, I seem to remember. What I'm going to do is, like our others, I'm going to do a layer first, but not on these individual pieces. I'm actually going to lighten it towards the middle so there's a bit of a shine. So embroidery threads were always quite shiny. They used to catch the light and look really pretty. So we can have a little bit of shine. I think they were silk. I'm not entirely sure. It's a long time since I did any embroidery. So we'll just, with this one, I want it to be lighter here. This bit's higher up than this bit. So I'm going to put quite a dark area here near where the little piece of paper is. And then lighten it up as we go. I used to do a lot of embroidery as a child. Cross stitch and mainly cross stitch. Sometimes just the one stitch without crossing it over. I can't remember what it's called. And then underneath here it'd be a little bit darker because we've got the shade of this. So we can come in with a few more layers here. And then fade it towards the middle a little bit. Some layers here. And then still leave a shiny-ish bit, but make it darker. It's just a matter of building up a few more layers. Try and do it quite lightly so you don't get it too hard. There we go. That looks a bit odd. There we go. Similar on this side. It's a different shape on this side. They're both sort of sideways. So I think the top would be lighter than the bottom. So what I'm going to do is do a light layer and then think about it a little bit more. So I still think it might be dark here and a little bit lighter as we go out, but also a bit darker at the top than the bottom. So we've got sort of two areas of darker areas. So this bit is our lightest area. Now if you're looking at colouring something and you don't know what to do with regards to light and shade, where is it going to be darker and lighter, go onto your search engine on your computer, find a photo of something and have a look. Or look at something in your house. If you've got a reel of cotton or a button or something like that, have a look at a real one and see how it looks. So here I'm building up the colour at the bottom here, where I think there would be shadow, leaving it a little bit lighter here and a bit more here. There we go, we finished that one. Now I'm going to do this little piece of paper. I'm not sure if I want to do it really, I'm sure they were black and gold. I don't think I want to do it black. Maybe we'll do it in a dark violet, dark purple instead. Let's use this blue violet to do it. Then it'll sort of match, but it'll be a bit darker. Now, this would be sticking out this way in the same way that the cotton reel is like that. So it will be darker here. I'm just going to build it up a bit and lighter in the middle, like that. Gives it a bit of shape, doesn't it? Okay, let's do this cotton reel. Now I think this looks just like the cotton I've got here. As I say, I have a luminous neon-y yellow centre part and it's white cotton. We're not going to do it like that. White cotton is a little bit dull, isn't it? Really. Let's do, should we do a pink? Let's do a pink. I'm going to keep this sort of purple pink blue. So we're going to use the light purple pink. It's actually a colour I don't use very often. By the way, underneath this page, I've put another book because it's quite near the front of the book. There wasn't much for me to lean on. So I decided to, I'm just going to do a light layer all over. I popped another book underneath. Using another Johanna Basford book is good because it's exactly the right size. I didn't actually use another Johanna Basford book because I didn't have one in here. Well, I did, but it was Miniature Secret Garden, so it wasn't much use. So I actually, I've used the Circle of Life book, Malponomy Chatsapanagiotu book, which is about the same size. Right, so I've done a quick rough layer. You can see it's not very neat, but I'm not going to worry about that. I'm going to go down the edge and put our darker layer on. And then gently bring it in towards the centre and do the same here. And then we get our shape beginning to show. But we have got these pieces look like they're on top and these pieces underneath. So we're going to add a little bit of extra colouring in. I'm going to leave this bit, but this one looks like it's under. I'm just going to sharpen. Bear with me. This is a little bit blunt for the detail that I want to get. There we go. So under here, I want to have a shadow, and I just want to darken this a little bit. Oops, I managed to snap the end up. Pressing too hard. Let's put a layer on a bit there as well. There we are, just to make it look a little bit darker. Hold on. There we go. There. And then this bit looks like it's really a lot lower. So let's emphasise that shadow more, and in there, look. And then this one across here, a little bit more. And this one in here. So we're going to do those lines where I think it would have some shadow, and then just fade that colour across. There we go. Now we need to do each end. Let's do a blue. What should we do? Let's do the indigo. It's almost a black blue, dark indigo for the reel. Now Johanna has drawn us some shadow here and here, but I want to make it dark on both sides. So I'm going to put quite a few layers here and fade it towards the middle. Same here. And the same on this one. I don't know if this was a good choice of blue, to be honest, but it's done now. You could have done this in the same cardboard as you did the one below. I'm pointing at it, you can't see. But it's done now. And then we have this little skein here, which I think again would probably be some embroidery thread. We've got two pinks, so we're not going to do it pink. One purple and a blue. So I'm thinking if we do a Delft blue, then we've got it's a sort of purpley blue. So we're somewhere in between. So let's just put down a light layer. Like that, and the same on the other side. And then we can think about where to put our shade, our darker layer. So again here next to the label, or the sort of slip-on piece there, and a little bit here. Again, I'm thinking this is like the silk threads, so I'm thinking it'd be shinier, like that. And then here, leaving a bit in the centre. and the same on this one. Okay, so there's all our threads done. I'm just double checking, yes, all the other threads will be done in the same way as this. Okay, so I'll just repeat that through. Let's do our scissors and pins. Now the scissors, I think it's easiest to do them silver, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to start, the key thing with silver, you want to have quite a good distinction between your light and your dark, and you want to leave some white to show the shine. This is quite a small, it's not as tiny as some of the designs on the facing page, but it's quite small, so we need to be quite clever with it. So we'll start with the Cold Grey 5. This is going to be our darkest, and we can see Johanna has shaded here and here for us, so let's use her indication there, but I'm only doing it across that line. What I would like to do is to try and make it darker on the edge of my scissors, so I'm going to go all the way around the edge with this dark grey. It's a little bit painstaking, but it's worth it. Try and stick on the black line or to the inside of it as much as you can, but don't worry if you don't quite achieve it. It's not the end of the world. Now here, some of this will overlap and some of it won't. And it means, as I just colour that, you've got a bit of shine. Do you see? And we're going to do the same, exactly the same on this side. So trying to create a layer around the edge. Oops, out, slide the line. And then just bringing that in a little, and then around the centre. Now you could, oops, you might be tempted to put a bit of lighter grey in these gaps, but actually it looks far more like shine if you leave it white. It's probably better to leave it white. I'm just going to erase where I went out the lines just a little. Just clean off my eraser a little bit. I just rub it between my fingers and it tends to clean off some of the bits. There we go, just neaten it slightly. Now we have the top blade part, and now the screw is often sitting a little bit higher than the piece it's on. So let's do this base piece first, and we'll make it darkish around the edge and around the screw. Now I'm just going to extend that colour a little bit lightly into the gaps like that, and the screw I'm just going to put a little bit of light grey around the edge of it so that it looks a bit like it's shining. Now we have this blade, and as we can see, Johanna's carefully drawn just the edge of the bottom blade and then lots of the top blade. So what I'm going to do is start with that edge and go quite hard, but I want some shine in the middle, so I'm just going to do that and leave a little white shine bit. But with this one, we're going to do it differently. We're going to go around the edge on both sides and across the bottom. It's got quite a thick layer there, and then we're going to reduce, so we're going to put a lighter layer around, and we're just going to keep going around and around, reducing the amount of pencil that we put down until we get to that very centre where we're just going to leave a bit. Oops, make sure that's dark, so it looks like we've got a bit of a shine going on. I'm just going to darken a few bits, tidy it up a little bit. There we go. So there's our scissors. Now the pins are really small. We're going to do our best, and this one, well, I'll just show you on one. So I'm going to try to leave a little tiny white bit in the middle of that top bit. I'm using the same pencil, and here I'm going to fade it towards the middle from both sides. I've got a bit of shine in the middle. It's really quite simple. I'm just decided that rather than doing the pins in gold, which they very usually are, to be honest, it might look a little odd. I felt, whoops, that a silver would match this colour scheme much better. So we're going to come out a little bit. We're going to do some buttons. Now I have a heart-shaped button, so I feel like I want to do it pink. And we want to use a different shade of pink than we've already used, but I don't want to go too red. I think I might go quite pale. Yeah, let's use this one. This is quite a pretty colour. It's called Dark Flesh. I think it's called Salmon these days. They've changed the name. Yeah, so this is your Salmon or your Dark Flesh. We're going to use it for our heart. So I'm going to put a light layer over, and then we're going to think about it. I don't think it's going to be really shiny, but there might be just a little bit of shine. So I'm going to put a base layer down. If I wanted something to be really shiny, I wouldn't do a base layer because we wouldn't be able to leave any white. Now what I'm going to do first is these inside bits, so that bit and that bit. We're not going to do in the hole and see through that. This bit here I think will be a bit darker, and this bit down here, although I'm going to make it a little bit paler towards the middle, like that. So there's an element of shine, but not really dark. Now for the main button, I'm just going to make it darker around the edge really. And then just bring that colour in a little bit, so we've got a slightly lighter area in the centre. Just going to tidy it up as well, it's a bit messy. There we go. There's our first button. Now we have 4 more buttons here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now some of these look like little tiny shirt buttons, but we won't do them as shirt buttons. Let's do a blue, another shade of blue. Let's go with let's do a cobalt blue. There we go, for this little button here. Now what I'm thinking is this rim might be sticking up a little bit more than this centre area. So I'm going to go all over with the blue, trying not to go in the holes, but not panicking if I do. Like that. And then I'm just going to do another layer on that inside bit, just so that, and then just all around the edge, just so that it really looks like that bit on the edge is sticking up a bit. I hope that works. It's quite small, but we can try again on this one and it'll be a little bit easier because it's larger. I'm going to choose a violet, or yeah, so this is the violet colour, and I'm going to do the same as I did for this one. So do a layer all over. It's quite a small pencil, isn't it? My little baby pencil. You'll be able to retire soon. It's quite hard to get this neat with such a small pencil, but anyway, do my best. So for this edge bit, I'm going to put slightly less colour on that top edge, like that. Now what I'm thinking is we've got this little bit inside, which I'm just going to go over quite hard. Now I think this bit might be lower down, so I'm going to go over it again, actually again as well, with the 3 layers, 3 light layers to say, like that. I'm not sure what this bit is. I'm wondering if it should have been a different colour. Maybe if I just go down really hard, as if it's some sort of stripe. And then I'm just going to tidy this up because it's a bit messy. So areas that look a bit light, like there, just going to tidy up a bit. There we are. Just quite straightforward. We have our star shape button next. We're going to do him in a pink. Which pink shall we pick? Let's use the magenta, light magenta, sorry. And again, I'm thinking these edges would do a little bit darker. So a few layers. You can see I'm going up and down a little bit. And then this bit lighter. Won't be catching the light because it's nearer to the light source. A little bit darker for those bits that are inside. Oh, those are a little ickle. Right, and then we have our teeny tiny button left. And it's going to be another blue button. Let's do this blue. Oops, it's a really nice sharp blue, look at that. It is phthalo blue, and again for the side a little bit darker, leave a lighter bit there, and then just colour this in. Maybe making it a little darker on the edge than in the middle perhaps, as if it's a bit shiny. So there we are. Now it's a little bit higgledy-piggledy. I'm just going to come out and just check that I've done one of everything for you. So we've done the heart button, skein, this button. Yeah, that one's going to be the same as that one. Those two are going to be the same. All these balls are going to be the same. Yeah, so we've done all of it. So it's now time for you to go off and decide whether you're going to use these colours. And to finish it, I'm going to finish it as well. I'm going to take these pencils next door and have a lovely evening finishing the picture. And I shall share the completed picture with you at the end of the video so that you can then decide whether you like this balance of colour. I'm thinking it might be a little bit pink biased, and maybe it might benefit from perhaps one of the pinks being swapped for a purple, but you know, it's up to you. You have a little look yourself and have a think once it's done. It depends really on what colours you like as well. But for now, that's me all done. Thank you very much for watching. I had good fun with that one. I hope that you did too. So have a lovely rest of your day and happy colouring. I just realised that I forgot to do the little piece of paper wrapper on this button. So I'm just going to grab a colour now. I'm just looking at the sort of balance of colours. I've got quite a lot of pink, so I don't think we'll go for pink. And this is sort of quite purpley already, so I think we might just go for a light blue. So I'm going to grab this one. This is the Cobalt Turquoise. Oops, there we go. And we're just going to do it a little bit harder here and here. Just a little bit lighter in the middle so that it looks like it's slightly shaped. And there we go, all done.